If you just don't think about those things while you're going throughout your workout, it's a lot easier to make the exact same mistakes over and over again. You just have to be super intentional with the way that you go about your training. If you make the movement as easy as possible by getting the best technique, it's just gonna make it that much easier. Everyone who's practiced calisthenics has probably heard these specific cues. Protract your shoulders, lean more, hollow body, posterior pelvic tilt. But are you actually able to apply those cues in your training? Because knowing what a cue means and actually being able to implement that into your training set are two completely different things. Proprioception is one of the most overlooked skills in calisthenics. Not only is it going to help you identify the mistakes that you're making faster, but it's going to make every practice set that much more meaningful and intentional. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what proprioception means, how you can improve it, and specifically how we can apply this skill to our handstand and our planche-lean. Let's get into it. Proprioception is basically your body's ability to sense where you are in space and make specific cues in order to clean up your form or enhance your technique. Basically, it's about developing a really strong mind to muscle connection, or you can think about it as like a brain to nervous system connection. Are we able to connect these specific cues to our training when we're performing something that's very technically difficult? Proprioception isn't just about balance or flexibility or activation. It's about knowing specifically where you are in the movement and what you need to do in order to clean it up or even perfect it. Now, this obviously matters a ton with calisthenics. So the first example I'll give is a handstand, right? If you're not in proper alignment, it's going to be a lot harder to hold that handstand, and it's just bad on your joints and tendons. If you know that your technique is bad and you're actively working on fixing it and you're applying the cues that you know that will help you fix it, that is good proprioception. If you just say you can hold a handstand and you don't really care about the form, that is bad proprioception. You're not really able to fix where you are in time and space. That way, it's just going to make it a lot harder for you to progress. Proprioception is about being able to apply these specific techniques into your training in order to make progress as quickly as possible. Now let's take a planche, for example. If you're not properly protracted in your planche form, it's just going to make it that much harder to complete a clean push-up or press into the handstand. Obviously, we want to make these movements as easy as possible so that we're able to get stronger and stronger with them over time. Now let's briefly talk about why this is so important. Obviously, consistency is super key when you're making your calisthenics progress. Say that you don't have very good proprioception and you just keep repeating the same exact skill over and over again, not really thinking about applying specific changes to your technique. Obviously, you're going to make the same mistake over and over like we already talked about. If you're not able to apply these specific cues in the regression of the skill that you're trying to learn, you're definitely not going to be able to do it on your best set, right? However, if your proprioception is good, you're able to understand and analyze your technique in the middle of your workout and make the specific changes that you need in order to elevate your training progress to the next level. You apply this over days and weeks and months, and the person who has good proprioception is going to make way more progress than the person who doesn't have good proprioception. Now we'll go into the 4 levels of proprioception. The first level is you don't even understand what exactly it is you're doing wrong. The second stage would be you understand that you need to fix something with your form, but you're just not able to actually apply that technique while you're doing the actual skill. And the last stage is that you're actually able to implement these specific cues and fixes into the regressions of the skill that you're already learning. So let's take a handstand. Level 1, you're not even sure that your handstand is wrong, right? You don't know what you don't know. Level 2 is that you know your handstand needs work and you need to be able to straighten it out, but you're not necessarily sure how to actually apply those handstand cues into your training. This is where a lot of people get stuck. Level 3 is actually being able to take those specific cues and learn to work on them. Learn how to make those micro adjustments in your handstand upside down. Learn how to move and position your hips and also balance through your fingertips in your handstand to be able to hold it for a long period of time, right? That's just one example. Now we're going to head to the park and I'm going to show you guys how you're going to be able to improve your proprioception with these skills and how to apply it into your own training. The very first thing we're going to go over is to kick up into the handstand. You want to make sure that your handstand kick-up is actually optimized, guys, right? So when I'm here in this handstand position, something that I'll see is a lot of people are gonna start farther back here, right? This is already bad proprioception. Because you wanna be as close to that handstand as possible, I'm gonna tell you to get your hips farther up. So now I'm way more upside down than I would before. Okay, so second thing is we're talking about how to actually kick up. I don't want to see you extend through the back and the core like this, okay? Like that. Here. I'm pushing too much through my back and my legs. Again, we want to keep the hollow body push through the shoulders. Starting in that correct handstand position, boom, push through the shoulders, right? Boom, push through the shoulders. Even if I start farther back here, boom, push through the shoulders. Sometimes when I'm coaching people in the handstand, they're already messing up the kick up, right? And if you can fix this, it's gonna make your kick up practice that much more consistent. Next, we'll talk about the hollow body. Are you actually able to get into the right handstand position while you're upside down? This is one of the most common mistakes that I'm seeing with handstand. So many people are holding it like this with bad form. Here. Are you actually able to be upside down and make these changes? Hollow body, ears to the shoulders, correct alignment. Can you feel the actual balance? Are you able to make those micro adjustments through the wrists? So many people just don't necessarily have that mind-muscle connection of being able to fix that banana handstand, bring it into the correct form. So my advice, you practice it on the wall, practice implementing those cues, specifically trying to get a good form, hold it close to the wall for time. That way you know you're able to actually get into that perfect form. So again, I should kind of know, what does it feel like to close my core into that hollow? What does it feel like when I'm opening up? Can I understand, am I able to actually tell when is my body opening up here, and am I able to fix it in that handstand in the correct way? A lot of times I see people make the adjustments too fast. You don't want to move too fast. This is a balance drill, so you need to move slow to find the balance. Okay, I can tell my handstand isn't good here, right? Let me straighten my legs. Let me push through my back, hollow body, engage the glutes, ears in between the shoulders. Now I know I'm nice and straight. Being able to tell specifically when you are in the right position versus when you are not in the right position is going to take your handstand to the next level, right? You're gonna be able to consistently hold it with perfect form so that we're able to move on into things like press into handstand, handstand push-ups, planche into the handstand, and none of that would be possible if we can't even do the handstand with correct form. Next, we're briefly just going to talk about the micro adjustments that you need to be able to make upside down. So first one is going to be through the core in the hips like this. Second is going to be through the wrists and shoulders. If you're training handstand, you probably already knew this, right? But the key concept of this video is, are you actually able to apply that to your training while you're upside down? If not, I'm gonna recommend you guys go to the wall and keep practicing it there. That way you know that you have that safety net, right? So I'm gonna show you here. If I get up into that handstand, I'm gonna be able to make those micro adjustments through my wrist. And this is really key for proprioception. As soon as I feel myself kind of shifting my weight forward, boom, I pulse into my hands, just like that. Boom, just like that. Same technique is gonna apply when making changes through our core and our hips, right? These are more macro adjustments in case you really feel like you're falling out of that handstand. You need to be able to make those weight shifts necessary, right? But still, you need to know, is my weight too far this way? Is it too far that way? How do I make those adjustments in real time is what's gonna accelerate your training. So basically just want to hip extend and hip flex, right? So hip extension is this way, hip flexion is this way, and that's how I can move my legs in order to keep balance. Same thing with the hollow, right? If I'm extended this way, if I'm banana, I know I need to hollow body, bring my core in this way, right? So I can make adjustments through my core like that, or my leg like this. So I'll show you guys upside down. I'm here in that handstand. Whoa. Here in that handstand. I feel myself falling forward. Okay, no. Pike the hip. Boom, here. This way. Nope. Flex or extend. So by doing this, right, I can make adjustments as I need to with my handstand. But again, more macro adjustments, right? Main adjustments come through the wrists and making those micro pulses here and here while we're on the parallettes. Next, we'll get into the planche. First, I want you to be able to actually activate with the right position of your scapula. So we're actually gonna start here with a scapula controlled articulate rotation, okay? So we're gonna be on our knees here. 4 main scapula movements: protract, depress, elevate, retract. Right? Are you able to do all 4 of those movements in isolation? That's gonna be your very first proprioceptive drill. Protract, depress, retract, elevate. Protract, depress, retract, elevate. You notice how I'm keeping my arms straight the entire time there. If I'm bending my arms, right, I'm not isolating my scapula. That's the whole point of this drill. From there, we can actually progress that into the planche-lean, right? So now I'm gonna be here, in that planche-lean, retract, elevate, protract, depress. Retract, elevate, protract, depress. Fix that planche form. Boom. Awesome. And that is a great activation drill for you to actually warm up your planche technique. How do you work on this with the straddle and the full planche? Well, 1, you can work on the correct scapula position with the band, and 2, working on the correct technique in a regression. So maybe that's tuck for you, maybe that's straddle for you, maybe it's straddle with the band. That goes exactly back to having a coach or a friend analyze your form, or maybe even filming yourself, so that way you can watch the video when you're doing your max set. Am I actually in the correct planche position with my scapulas and everything like that? If you're not, my recommendation, regress. Go back to the tuck, the planche-lean, or even just do these drills sort of as a in-between exercise, in between sets, to really help you understand that correct activation. You go back, watch it again, hopefully there's some improvement. If not, I think the bands are probably one of the best tools to use to help fix your planche form. That's an entirely different video though. Another example in your planche is maybe you're bending your arms a little bit too much in your lean or your skill attempts. Then what I would recommend is really focus on the activation of the tricep and also your serratus. So this muscle and this muscle here. If these muscles are engaged properly, that's how you know, boom, I'm actually utilizing my tricep in an advantageous way that's gonna help me progress with my planche. Obviously, if we're bending our arms in our planche, we're really just not even doing it, right? That's one of the biggest cheats that you can do in your planche. So you know that, okay, I'm not fully straightening my arm out. Okay, maybe let me strengthen my triceps a little bit more. Let me do these certain progressions here. Make sure that I'm not bending my arm at all and I'm really focusing on utilizing my scapula. That way, when we go back and attempt it the next week or whatever it is, you're gonna see improvements in your form. So here I can see that my arms are slightly bent. Okay, I need to work on activating my tricep and then also feeling that serratus, boom, turn on. And now I know, okay, I'm in a good lockout position with my arms at least. And that way I can progress into the next exercise. Proprioception is absolutely something that some people are better at naturally and some people just struggle with a bit more. It's almost like a certain type of intelligence, right? It's your body intelligence, kinesthetic intelligence, your body's ability to understand where you are in time and space. Just because some people are good at it naturally doesn't mean that this is a skill that you can't get better at. For example, I see a lot of people getting in their head with their training and they're getting anxious about being able to perform a certain set or skill or not being at their best or whatever it is. Oftentimes when I find that you're in your head and you're anxious about something, you're just not going to be performing as well and you're not going to be able to apply those specific cues that you know you need to in the middle of your working set. Filming yourself or getting a buddy or even a coach to analyze your form and help you out is definitely going to be a great skill, so that way you get some extra eyes on your form. However, this isn't something that you necessarily want to rely on, right? You want to be able to eventually understand these specific cues and where you're at without necessarily needing to go back and watch the video or needing somebody else to tell you that your form wasn't very good. This is something that you can get better at over time. For example, with your handstand, you think, okay, maybe I wasn't perfectly in a line, but I know I could hollow body through my core a bit more, right? You watch a video, you understand that's what you're doing. Okay, now I know next time exactly what that feels like, right? And exactly what I need to do in order to make that specific correction. That's an example of really good proprioceptive training. If you just don't think about those things while you're going throughout your workout, it's a lot easier to make the exact same mistakes over and over again. You just have to be super intentional with the way that you go about your training. One of the most damaging mistakes here is trying to implement everything all at once with your form. I can think of 10, 20 different really great handstand cues that could probably help anyone, but I shouldn't give them 20 pieces of advice at once. This is something that I struggled with when I first started training clients. I would just word vomit on them all of the different tips that I could think of in order to help them. But what I realized, you're better off implementing one technique change at a time. Work on mastering that before moving on and trying to fix everything all at once. A handstand is super confusing technically, especially when you first start out. You don't want to confuse yourself and think every little thing has to be perfect, right? Because that's going to play into the anxiety that we talked about earlier, and you're just not going to perform as well. So focus on one specific cue that you know you need to do, at least in between every single set, and that way you can actually objectively measure, did I implement these specific changes into my routine or not? Another common mistake that I see all the time is focusing too much on the PR, right? How many seconds did I hold it? How many presses did I do? Quality over quantity matters here, right? That's the whole point of this video. You want to improve your technique so that way the quantity over time also becomes easier. If you make the movement as easy as possible by getting the best technique, it's just going to make it that much easier for you to progress in the future. The last mistake that I see is that you're just going without actually reflecting on the performance of that set. So if you're not actually sitting back and analyzing, how did that set go? What can I do differently in order to improve? Then you're just working out. You're not training, right? We want to train in order to get better, in order to reach our goals. And with that mindset, we need to laser focus in on the exact changes we need to make in our workout program. If you're just going through the motions over and over again, you're just simply not going to make progress as quickly as you could. Even though I only talked about the handstand and the planche-lean today, of course you can apply this with all other calisthenic skills. Another super common one is the front lever. I know a lot of times people think they're holding the front lever correctly, but maybe their hips are sagging or they're bending their arms or their feet are too high. Are you able to tell when you're in that perfect form front lever or even back lever, for example? That's another sign of good proprioception. To wrap up this video, the main takeaway is that you want to practice mindful training, not mindless training. You want to be very deliberate about the certain cues that you're implementing and what you have in mind to progress, and not just mindlessly going through the motions of any specific workout. This is where calisthenics is much harder to progress because unlike weight training, you can't just add pounds to the bar, right? We have to work on our quality of movement, how good we're able to activate, the specific mobility required for specific movements. This stuff is a lot more technical than just increasing the weight on the barbell, for example. If you guys want to learn more about proprioception, you can absolutely click the link below to apply to work with me one-on-one. Just keep in mind, I'm only taking a very limited amount of clients right now. But yeah, that's it for today's video. If you guys have any other topics you would want me to cover, let me know in the comments below. And until next time.